All right, let's get right into it. Shoulder to shoulder, you need that measurement. You'll see that I'm going up and down. You'll feel where it starts and stop at. So mine is 14. Next is shoulder to bust. But since my breasts are soggy and saggy, I'll just hold it up as if I got on a bra. So it's 10. Next, you'll need your shoulder to waist measurement. You'll feel the dip, like the dip if you lean over side to side. That's your dip. You'll know where that is. And mine is 16. Remember where your dip is at, you'll need your waist to hip measurement. Your hip is basically your butt, the widest part of your butt. So just your butt. The last vertical measurement you'll need is from your waist to the length of your dress, however long you want it to be. Now let's get into the horizontal measurements. First, you'll need your bust, the widest or fullest part of your breast. Make sure it's straight and parallel, and make sure it's not too tight and not too loose. Mine is 36. And I mean parallel to the ground. Now you'll need your waist measurement. Remember, side to side, you'll feel that dip on the sides. So just go around and make sure it's parallel to the ground and it's straight, not slanted or anything. I know I'm fat, so please. And mine is, I think it's 29. Next is the hip, or really just your butt. And it's the same thing, parallel to the ground, straight, not soggy or sagging or anything. Parallel to the ground, not too tight, not too loose. Now let's start drafting this pattern. It's super easy if you just follow along. You want to start with a straight line so you can know where to start it. I like using gift paper because it has lines. The paper has lines on them, so I can easily tell where it starts and stop at. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'll be marking lines. All right, so first you want to do shoulder to shoulder divided by 2, plot that. Then you're going to do a 3x3 neckline. That's what I do, 3 over, 3 under, and then make that curve right there. Let me start over. So the left side, that's the center front. That's the front part. And then the right side, that's the back. From that shoulder to shoulder point, when you divide it by 2, you want to go down by a 1/2 inch or 1 inch because our shoulders, they're not straight. It has a slant to it. So you want to go down and then you want to connect that line or that dot to the neckline. Now let's start putting our vertical measurements in. So the first is shoulder to bust. So I'll go down 10 inches because I said from shoulder to bust is 10 inches. And then I will draw a horizontal line, a really long line, so it won't be crooked or anything. It can be straight. Just mark that line. Now you're gonna label that bust line. And then after that, you want to go down from shoulder to waist. You want to mark that measurement. And I think my shoulder to waist was 16 inches. So I go down 16 inches from the top of that. And then I'll draw my horizontal line again. And I will label that waistline. Now you want to plot your waist to hip measurement, and I think mine was 9. So from the waistline, I'll go down 9 inches, and then I'll draw my horizontal line, and then that would be my hip line. But I think I forgot to label it hip line right here. But you should know right here, it's the hip line. And then right here, I just went down I want to say like 7 or 8 inches. I don't know. But that was just the length of the dress. But you can make it super long. You can make it super short. I mean, I really don't care. This is just like the basics of it. And once you go down how many ever inches you want to go down, then you want to draw your horizontal line again. This is going to be the armhole depth, And how you want to get this is you want to do bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. Or you can just do your armhole divided by 2. But I like the bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. And whatever you get, you go down that many inches from that sloped shoulder point. Not the very top one, the sloped one. Then after that, you want to draw your straight line or connect the dots, make a straight line. Draw your horizontal line right there, and this will be your chest line. I don't know why I put armhole or AH, but this will be your chest line. But this is needed to make the armhole. Now I'll be plugging in my horizontal measurements. First is my bust measurement. At the bust line, your bust divided by 4, and then you plot it. Next is at the waistline, your waist divided by 4, and you'll plot it. Next, at the hip line, you'll do your hips divided by 4, and then you plot that as well. Then at the chest line where it says AH, it really should be CL for chest line. You would just plug in your bust measurement there as well. So your bust divided by 4, and then you plot it at the chest line as well. Now I'll be connecting all of the dots, and please keep in mind that there are a million ways to draft the pattern. So, and this is just the way that I do it, so please keep that in mind. But if you have any suggestions or anything or tips or anything for me, I am open up to them. Thank you. Now I'm about to finish the armhole, which I really don't need because this dress is sleeveless, but I'm still going to do it. So whatever this line is, how much ever that is, you divide that or find the midpoint of that, and then you mark it. So if it's 7 inches, then you mark it at 3.5 inches. You mark it. And then you go in 1/2 inch. From that 1/2 inch mark, you're gonna connect the line from the end of that shoulder to that midpoint, to that inward midpoint, and then you'll use your curved ruler to just mark it towards the bust point or your bust measurement that's at the chest line. You can rewind this as many times as you want. You'll know once you do it. You just have to practice to get it. And I'm drawing this back sleeve or this back armhole as if I'm going to use it. Again, I'm not going to be using this, but I don't even know why I did this. I just forgot. I just be so into it that I forget. But I really don't need these. Next, I'll be like slimming it down, kind of, sort of. I don't know the right word for it, but it's just too much. It's too much hips, too much whatever. I don't have that many curves or that much curve, whatever you want to say. I don't have it. So I exited out, tried to make it more smoother. And then right here, I'm plotting the back, the center back. And I'll literally be doing the same thing that I did to the center front, which is the left side. Plugging in all my measurements, and I already have the lines. I already have my vertical measurements down, but I'll just put in my horizontal measurements again, but I'll do the back as if I wanted backless. And you just draw it. I don't know. You just draw it how you want, and that's it. The crazy thing about it is I didn't even use the back pattern that I drew out for this. I just used the front pattern or the front piece and I just folded it. Well, you'll see what I did, but I didn't use this actual pattern. But you can, but I don't know why I just did this. Again, I don't know. I think I started it at the chest line, but then once I like got ready to actually use the fabric, I ended up cutting it down to the bust line. And then even after that, after I actually started cutting the fabric out, I chopped it off at the waistline, and I was not supposed to do that. Again, you'll see later on what I did, but I was supposed to start at the bust line and then end at the waistline. Here I'm plotting my bust band, which is just my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Mine was 7, divided by 2 is 3.5, so I just mark 3.5. Then at the shoulder, I'll find the midpoint of this measurement and I'll mark it, and then I'm going to make a straight line, and then I'll draw my design from there. Here is where I cut off at the chest line, because I was like, okay, that's a little too high. So I cut it down to the bust line. And then once I actually started cutting the fabric, I cut it even lower to the waistline. It wasn't supposed to be that low, but it's fine. Live and you learn. Right here, I'm just drawing the design that I want. I was doing like a little U type shape. I could have did a V shape, could have did whatever shape I wanted to be. I could have kept it like this. It all depends on what you want. That's why it's so fun. That's why I like sewing, because you can do what you want. Okay, right here at the bust line, I was like, okay, that's out a little too much. So I went over, or I went in 1 inch just to make it like a little cuter, because it's stretched out. It's stretchy fabric, and I'll have like the little strings. So I was like, it'll be fine. Okay, so now it's time to cut out the fabric, the fun part, I guess. Both pieces, the front piece and the back piece, are on the fold. Usually the back piece is like on the fold, but it's cut in half. But for this tutorial, both are on the fold. So I'm cutting that piece out. Then I'm going to use that front piece right here. And then I'm going to make sure I notched the waist, so I know where the waist is at. Notching it right there. And then I'll cut out the piece. You see, I cut it at the waist. I was supposed to cut it up a little bit more and then go down to the waist. Right here, I'm just cutting a long strip of fabric. Right here, I am just placing it pretty side to pretty side. For this fabric, you can't tell which side is pretty and which side is ugly. So you decide that and you just stick to it. So both sides are touching right here. this is the pretty side. This is the front piece and this is the pretty side. Pretty side is up. We're going to place both pretty sides. Oh my gosh. Both pretty sides are touching each other. You always remember that. Please remember that. Pretty sides are always touching. Then I'm going to sew it and then flip it, and then I'm going to sew it again. This is just like a visual representation of how it's going to be, but you'll see eventually. And oh, here it is again. So pretty sides are touching. We're going to clip it. Now we're going to sew it. Why do I have this clip? Oh my gosh. Okay. Now we're going to sew it. I sewed it with a straight stitch, but I really should have did a stretch stitch or zigzag stitch. And I don't know why I'm in this camera. I didn't even know. Sorry. All right. So it's sewn on. Now we're going to flip it one time. And then we're going to flip it again. And then we're going to clip it because that's how we want it to look. You see how clean it looks? Yeah, it looks better. I mean, it's not so perfect. And with this tutorial or this whatever you gonna call it, I was kind of rushing because I was like, okay, I got this in my head. I want to try and do this really fast. Like, I didn't care about it being so clean. Only the front part. But yeah. And after I sew it, I'm going to measure 10 inches because that's the measurement that I have for around my neck. So make sure it's 10 inches. And then I will sew that onto the other side. Now I'm about to sew the front and back piece together. Now I'm about to sew the long loop. Well, it's not really a loop. It's just something that I sew together to use as loops, but they're not actually loops. So I'm sewing the loops and then I'll cut all the extra fabric off of that. Now I'll be sewing my elastic on to give it like that scrunched look. But while you're sewing down, make sure you're pulling and holding it at the same time. Hold it with your left hand and then pull with your right hand if you can. That's really it for now. I hope you guys liked this tutorial. I tried to make it as in-depth as possible, but you know, I really don't know. You can give me some feedback if you would like. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.